Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Talking Travel with the Flying Gazelle. Super excited to presenting episode 3 today. If you haven't caught the first two on Ghana as well as Costa Rica, please make sure you check those out. I, by way of introduction, I'm Yomi Rokio, founder of the Flying Gazelle. We are a travel booking and advisory service tailoring packages for our customers. If you need anything travel-wise, please make sure you get in touch with us. I'm super excited today to chat with this next guest. He is somebody special, as you'll get to find out. And typically, we talk travel internationally. Today, we're bringing this a little bit closer to home and talking about some services that are offered right here in the US of A. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. And guest, if you don't mind talking about yourself and introducing yourself to our clients, that would be super exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks, Yomes. I call him Yomes because there's a little bit of a personal relationship here. If you can't tell, Yomi is my older brother. So super excited to join you here today. So share Rokio, everybody. Like I mentioned, I get the honor of being here with my older brother and doing something very, very fun. We'll talk more about my professional background, but on a personal side, I live in Northwest Indiana. I'm married with two boys, both troublemakers, as we like to call them here at home. I've got a 7-year-old boy named Drew and a 5-year-old named Grant, and they keep us very, very busy. Myself and my wife, Dawn. Like I said, I live in Northwest Indiana. Been in the area for the last 10 years or so, right outside the Chicagoland area, or right outside the city of Chicago, about 45 minutes southwest of Chicago.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that intro. And excellent branding behind you. I can see that's one of your vans, and I know that you're going to get to talk to us about that. So let's get right into it. So please tell us about your service, your offering, and how the whole idea was born.
Yeah, for sure. And the part I skipped in my intro is the professional side, right? So from a professional background, one, I'm an executive within the retail supply chain space, but we're not talking that today. We're talking about almost my second career, which is within the travel industry. I am the owner operator of Chicagoland Safaris. You see one of my vans behind in my background. Basically, we operate a tourism slash chauffeur service here in the Chicagoland area, providing shuttle service, tourism service for our clients around Chicago and the surrounding areas. We do things like airport service back and forth to the local airports here in Chicago. We do wedding services. We do events, sporting, concerts, things of that nature. But our kind of bread and butter is our wine tours. So somewhat unique to the area. And right outside Chicago, about an hour and a half away, is Southwest Michigan. Southwest Michigan has probably over 25 different wineries and vineyards. It's pretty special. It's almost like a hidden gem in the Midwest that a lot of folks don't know. Even folks local to the area are still finding out about Southwest Michigan. But that's our bread and butter. Really doing wine tours out to Southwest Michigan. We mostly do this during the summer and the fall months. It's a ton of fun. It's an adventure, and we offer a couple different packages, whether it be an all-inclusive package with transportation service is baked in with your tastings, or just taking folks out just the transportation alone and have them discover on their own with their tastings. So that's a little bit about the professional background and specifically my company, Chicagoland Safaris.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. And who doesn't like a wine tasting tour? I know there's some folks who like wine, and maybe other folks like other types of spirits, what have you. And I know I've been on some of your excursions, and what's interesting is yes, they're wineries, but oftentimes or sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, they tend to have some other spirits as well for folks who might want to try something else And oftentimes there's also food available again for, just making a whole day of it, that sort of thing. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely. You're spot on. We have a lot of clients. Many of our tours are a group of friends, family members, celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a bachelor party. But within those cohorts, there's a lot of folks that tell us that, hey, I'm not a wine drinker, and you'll be surprised how much fun these folks have. One, yes, some of the wineries are actually wineries and distilleries that offer other spirits and options outside of wine. But honestly, apart from just the tastings and the drink, it's just the experience
yeah.
itself, right? One again, group of close friends taking this excursion in a beautiful vehicle, a luxury van, but just time in the country, Southwest Michigan, again, with all these wineries, just exploring, driving around, having a good time with your friends and family. It's just that experience itself that makes for a memorable occasion.
That's awesome. And yeah, that whole area is just super beautiful. It just really feeds into and underscores the whole idea of experiential excursions, journeys, etc. And if you caught my, I guess, ins for 2025, one of them is experiential trips or journeys. So count on the Chicago safaris for that. Speaking of,
Absolutely.
why should people consider Chicago safaris? What makes you unique? Why should I elect to book your service?
Absolutely. Some of it I already said if you didn't catch it, but I'll share a couple more things. One, just the differentiated experience of the type of vehicle that we utilize in our operations, the service that we provide, the guided, personalized service that we provide. And honestly, just there's not a ton of folks that offer the same type experiences. So going backwards a little bit, I'll start with the vehicle. It's the first thing you see. It's kind of the first thing you experience as you hop on one of these excursions. All my vehicles have got four in the fleet are these Mercedes-Benz Sprinters. Most folks who offer this type of service, at least locally, are not necessarily using this class of vehicle. Some of them are just minibuses, some of them are just minivans. So for the folks who want a more elevated experience, I think the vehicle kind of speaks for itself. Part two of this is just the personalized experience and the personalized service and setup. So when folks reach out, they tell us they would love to do a wine tour. Yeah, what does this entail? So from start to finish, we customize the experience for you. As far as your starting location, the type of venues and wineries you want to visit, we build that itinerary for you. We give you recommendations. We'll build down timing and the schedule. And it all comes in that package, that all-inclusive package. And we can flex. Some folks want, just an in and out experience because they're on a time crunch. Some folks make it a total day where we include a dinner experience on top of it,
Yeah.
right? Folks tell us, we take everything from there, we organize, schedule, and we also have close partnerships with a lot of these wineries.
Mhm.
So we know the ins and outs. And just from a differentiator, is just really just the cost, right? We want folks to have this elevated service, but also not have to break the bank to do it. So I think those three things, right? The personalized service, the vehicle, and then the cost, mix all that together, typically equates to a really good recipe for this type of experience.
Yeah, packaged well in terms of just an all-rounder good value for the offering, right? So that's great. When we think about seasons and just the times folks can use your offering, besides, of course, I'd imagine the airport runs happen all year round, but are there specific times of year that folks tend to book you more, or you would recommend folks utilizing the service?
For sure, for sure. They make sense, right? Outdoor activities, summertime, fall time. Most of the time around here, you think wine tours, you think wineries. Fall is kind of your number one. One, just the landscape. There's nothing like driving down south to Southwest Michigan. and just seeing the fall season colors. It just provides that you know I've said it a million times, that just elevated experience, right? Like it's it's literally like something out of the magazine. Just driving through these vineyards and seeing the fall colors. So I think that fall season is probably number one. Number two is summer, of course. Obviously, with most outdoor activities happen in the summer. Um, but the weather can get really hot out there, which doesn't always provide the best experience. And then surprisingly enough, you know, over the last few years, we've had a lot of folks coming out in the winter. A lot of the wineries offer indoor seating. Your tastings are done at a bar counter. So there's a lot of flexibility in what we can do in the winter. And as folks have learned more about us and we've gotten more exposed on the communities, we see bookings that have also happen in the winter times.
Yeah.
Birthdays still happen in the winter. Celebrations still happen in the winter. So that's slowly becoming also a peak per
Yeah.
se for us as well.
Yeah, and especially as these days with the weather patterns changing a little bit too, there are times when it's winter and it could be a bit warmer, right? So like it's not, I think those hard and fast rules of times past where these are the times to do certain things are kind of gradually changing. Plus, there's also kind of the fun in being inside a warm hall, winery, whatever it is, doing your tastings while it's, a tad cold outside. So it just
Yeah,
depends
some
on
of
what
it's
you're looking for. Yeah.
yeah, some of it's just practical too. People don't want to drive. They'd rather they'd rather have someone else do it for them. And if that's the case for you, we'll raise our hands for our services. So some of it's just like the practicality of it.
100%. And I think it's also just kind of cool too, right? When we think about wineries and we think about wine offerings in the States, I wouldn't have thought about, that area that you cover, right? I think most of us think about going on tours and Napa Valley, Sonoma, maybe Washington State, that is.
Yep, yep.
Oregon, that sort of thing, but never really, in that area. So I think this is also great because it exposes our audience and folks to a different type of offering and just exposure to uh, the wines from that region. Would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
If you think of Chicago, the tourism and our tourism numbers here, it's one of the top destinations in the United States. But as you build a full itinerary for a weekend, within that weekend visit to Chicago, you can also plan for 6 hours to go out to Southwest Michigan, one of the best areas, of course, outside of the Napas, outside of the Washington states, um, but not that far behind. To also include that in your weekend trip to Chicago, it's very doable. And to be honest, this is I often don't like speaking about it because it's an untapped market, right?
of
There's a
course.
lot of opportunity in this area for sure.
Yeah, there's room for everybody.
Of course, and we're very
You're a pioneer in what you've done. So kudos to you. That's fantastic.
absolutely.
Thanks for all the information. It sounds like a lot of great stuff. We're going to start to wrap this up a little bit here, but I've got a few more questions for you. So just logistics in terms of how can people find you? Where can people find you? Again, I'll link some of this in the transcripts and once this gets posted. And of course, for folks who are looking on my client side, if you want to get in touch with Chicago Safaris, you can certainly come through us, but you can also go directly to Chicago Safari. So how can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, social media is king, right? So whether in our Facebook page, IG page, other forums, I think that's
IG, meaning Instagram.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Folks can find us at Chicago Safaris. And then our website, chicagosafaris.com, is another great venue to reach out to us and get a lot of information. So we look forward to hearing from new guests. and hopefully we can set you up for something fun.
Yeah, and remember, all fully customized and great transportation vehicles and just great value for money. So remember that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. So we are gonna transition a little bit into just getting to know you a little bit better. Thank you for your opening where you talked about your family and just your personal life, but just a couple more questions for us to get to know you a little bit better. Are you up for that?
Of course.
Cool.
Let's go.
So, first thing, since this is a travel podcast, what are some of your favorite things to do while you're on holiday, while you're on vacation?
It's uh it's it's maybe not funny, but I'm not a like a beach type person. I do like going somewhere warm, and it seems so simple, but I love walking a new city. Typically, my wife and the kids would go on vacation, explore somewhere new. And before kids, my wife would do this more, more then than now. But visit a new city and just walk, check out the city. I mean, you live in one of the most beautiful cities, maybe second to Chicago. I remember
Close to Chicago, probably.
I remember visiting New York not that long ago, and we literally walked from one end of Manhattan all the way up to upper Manhattan. We spent the whole day just walking. So that's one of my favorite things to do. And probably part two is just I'm a pool guy versus a beach guy. So a pool lounge. I love being in the pool and hanging out by the pool. Maybe a swim up bar, throw a swim up bar in there, and that's heaven for me on vacation.
Yeah, I've certainly been to my fair share of swim up bars, so I can certainly understand that. That is cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I hear you about warm destinations. It's especially in the winter when it's bitterly cold, especially this year, getting to someplace warm and enjoying that is certainly a lot of fun. All right, cool. And then the second thing, are there any destinations, locations that are on your radar in terms of the next spots for travel or someplace you'd like to visit?
Yeah, there's one that I might be actually utilizing someone's services for coming up here soon. Dawn and I have our 10-year anniversary coming up next year, and Greece has always been on our list. Um, so that's probably a top contender for our next big getaway. But also the Amalfi Coast is another one that we're tossing up there. So I might have to utilize your service and recommendations between those two, or another top contender that we can visit for our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, and we certainly are standing at the ready to support you and help you through all of that. So
Of
definitely
course.
get in touch. Yeah. So, no, this has been super helpful and it's been exciting to get to learn about you and your business. And thank you for taking the time to share all that stuff with us. We're wrapping this up, but any final words, anything you'd like our audience to be aware of before we put a button on this?
I think just one final thought, just as a small business owner, the journey has not always been easy. And I've been at this for the last, call it 10 years, a little less than 10 years. I'm very open and excited about what the next 10 years could bring. But also, I think just guidance for, we didn't necessarily talk about this, but as I think about my path with this business and other professional achievements, my path to Chicago Safaris kind of came about a little differently. I didn't attend that this was the business model day one. I had a completely different business model, and it just kind of morphed. It kind of morphed into what it is today. But I stayed true to what I was passionate about, which was really just um, showing people a good time, presenting them with great service. And as the business morphed, I morphed with it. I flexed with it. So I think just a word of encouragement to others out there that are finding their path and establishing their brand. Just be ready to flex. You never know what's going to come. Be ready to flex and adjust and go with it, but just stick to your passion.
I absolutely love that. And as somebody who just started their own business, the Flying Gazelle is definitely less than a year old. So this is great information and advice. And I'm glad that you touched on this because a lot of people out there are either thinking about starting something, have an idea that they want to birth out into the world. And, a lot of times fear holds us back or the fear of the unknown. And sometimes it's not easy. It's a hard thing to do. So I certainly appreciate you imparting such wisdom on our audience and, yeah, just do it. I mean, that's the goal, right? It's just go for it. And sometimes it's not easy and you have to be malleable. So in terms of the flex that you mentioned, and I'm starting to learn that myself as well. So again, thanks for imparting all that on our audience. And I'm sure it's going to be sage advice for those folks who are listening and watching this.
Of course, anytime.
Cool. Well, thanks so much. I mean, that's the time we have. Again, appreciate you hopping on the pod to chat with me today. And again, I will link your details in the transcripts. And for folks who are looking to book these tours, please do so. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Jones, thank you. I appreciate it. And let's fly together.
Let's fly. Let's soar. Bye.
Let's soar. Bye.